Seton will have a poll question. I believe you are locked and loaded with a poll question today.
Yeah, we got a couple options.
Okay.
One of them definitely needs your help populating.
Oh.
Blank had the worst weekend.
Ooh.
Now,
Saucy.
this is different than worst of the weekend. Blank had the worst weekend. It could be a person. It could be a thing. It could be a team. It could be...
It could be anything.
Yeah. It's just free-flowing.
Okay.
Living, breathing.
Blank.
Yes. But we only have 4 options. We only have room, for 4 options.
Oh. All right.
We only have room. So, I could put on there who might be my worst of the
All
weekend.
right. Well, let's hear.
I think Joe Flacco had a terrible weekend.
Okay.
What?
I'm sorry. I know that there's some real Joe Flacco lovers in here. However, he was supposed to be how are you going to keep trotting out this quarterback when you got the better one on the bench? Well, the better one on the bench was in the game this weekend, and he was terrible.
Well, just imagine how bad Anthony Richardson would have been.
I don't know if Anthony
there.
Richardson would have been worse than Joe Flacco. The Colts looked terrible this weekend.
I didn't have any high hopes for Joe Flacco other than he kind of goes in there and you know what you're going to get.
Well, I think Paul had a lot of high hopes for Joe Flacco.
I did.
This is a little bit of like a setting Paul up for a response
Wow.
here.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know.
He was a hardcore Joe Flackist.
I'm a Flacco.
a Flacco-ish.
Yes.
Dude.
Well, Joe Flacco was 16 for 27 with a pick. But Anthony Richardson actually had a worse weekend because whilst not playing, he got caught on national TV yawning during a drive on the sideline.
Okay, which is worse?
Okay, wait a minute.
Getting caught on national TV?
Yawning or saying your team bleeping sucks.
Yawning. You're not playing.
No, Dak Prescott's the guy who says we bleeping suck. And they call Dak, you're the Cowboys quarterback. There's always going to be a camera on you.
Does he get any awareness points?
What, Dak?
Yes.
Oh,
He's aware that team sucks. And
you think that he wanted to say that and get caught?
No, I don't think he wanted to say that and caught, but I'm just saying at least he's present in the moment and being real. Like, wow, man, we blanking suck. Instead of being like, hey, guys, some positives here to build on, all right? Come on now. Season's not over. We got a lot of ball left. Let's keep building.
Dak Prescott had the worst weekend because he got hurt. They lose again. And he pulls his hamstring and he gets caught on the bench saying how he really feels about the Cowboys. Who else is in there? Marvin, do you have a suggestion?
Joel Embiid.
Ooh.
Yo, he had a bad weekend, dude. That's a good one.
Yeah, had a little run-in with a columnist there in Philadelphia.
He had a very bad weekend.
He pushed him, and he basically said, look, what I'm going to do to you if you mention his brother died, I think his first year in Philadelphia. He brings up his son, like your son to be proud of his dad playing. I don't know. I get it. I mean, we all want these guys to play. Joel Embiid has probably had more injuries than any other player in the NBA. Any current player in the NBA. And that includes Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Joel Embiid has had a tremendous amount of injuries. And he has played through or come back from, but he hasn't played. And when you say you're not going to play back-to-back, he's not even playing the back to play the back-to-back. And that's a mess. Columnist called him out, and Joel Embiid had words with him. It's a mess. And I don't know how you incentivize. It's weird to incentivize somebody who's making $40 or $50 million a year. Like, isn't that crazy? How do we get you to play? You'd think $40 million would be all right, I'll play. How about you show up to work, you get paid, you don't show up to work, you don't get paid? Can you punch a time clock here? You want to get paid for 62 games? Okay. You'll get paid for 62 games. Yes, Seton.
Not to pick apart his words though, but to say, I've done way too much for this city, ... Man, I don't know.
Well, you want an MVP, unless he's talking about off the court charitable things, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe philanthropic. But as far as on the floor, I always know that I'm going to be entertained when he plays. And he won an MVP, and they end up losing. usually in dramatic fashion. So, and he's not playing. Like it's, their target date for Paul George. I mean, what could go wrong in Philly? Any other worstices? Yes, Paul.
I will throw out Texas A&M football. They were ranked 10th. They were right back in the playoff picture.
Yeah.
And they get raced by South Carolina. Not a close loss, but that's a season ender. You can't get back in now. You're out.
Yeah, you can't be talking trash after a big win. You beat LSU. All of a sudden, wait, who is Mike Elko talking about? I don't know. And then you lose that game. Got roughed up by the Gamecocks. Yes, Todd?
I'm going to give it to Jaguars cornerback Jarian Jones, who Saquon jumped backwards over. That's going to be forever in his video resume and lore.
It's one of those where if you see it, and, here's the Jags cornerback, he lowers his head. So he's kind of lowering his head and expecting to run into Saquon, and Saquon jumps over him backwards.
It's pretty awesome.
I had to watch it again, even though I watched it in real time. I'm like, wait a minute. That didn't. And then you realize what he did and got a couple extra yards. But Saquon Barkley is now. I know we talked about Derrick Henry, and rightfully so. Saquon Barkley has had as good a year as Derrick Henry and might end up with a better year than Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry now has 10,000 rushing yards, 100 touchdowns. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. But Saquon Barkley has been worth every penny that the Eagles paid and the Giants refused to pay. So we're gonna name that the Saquon Barkley rear end sail over a cornerback play. We'll come up with nicknames for that.
The Giants are like, you know what? Right now it looks bad, but in 5 years from now, we're gonna see who got the better end of that deal.
Of course you are.
5 years from now, people won't be saying that.
All right. So, any other suggestions on who had a bad weekend, Paul?
It might be obvious, but the Chicago Bears coaching staff. Because it might be over, Johnny. Maybe not for 2 more months, but it feels like it's over, Johnny.
But why is it the coach and not the quarterback? Quarterback hadn't played well.
He's unfireable.
I know, but he can still have a bad weekend.
Yeah.
He has not played well. And now it's not like Bryce Young to C.J. Stroud, but you have Jaden Daniels, who people are trying to kind of shoe in for MVP candidacy. The team is not, I wondered if there'd be a spillover, and there certainly was. But, you're watching and you're not seeing any offense here. I've already stated where I stand on Matt Eberflus. I never would have brought him back, or if you bring him back, then sign him to a contract. You can't sort of be pregnant here. It's just like Dallas. Mike McCarthy's not going to be there next year. Would I be surprised if Eberflus is there? I would be. Yes, Eaton.
But if you're the Bears and you're looking at where things stand, right? Mm. You're just coming out of a situation where you had a handful of really high draft picks. You had all of this cap space and all of this money to burn and all this stuff, and you allowed Matt Eberflus to say, this is what I want to do with that stuff, and now you're going to fire him?
Well, I wouldn't have.
You should have fired him before he made all those decisions then. You should have fired him before he picked the draft picks. You should have fired him before he spent all your money. That was the time to get rid of him. Now you kind of have to see it through at least.
Well, the end of the year.
Yes.
Yes, I would not fire him during season. Bears don't do that anyways. But I'd be like, all right, here's the problem when you keep a coach on. If they somehow start to play well, then you're like, which team do we really have here? I mean, the Bears last year played really well. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, all right, Matt Eberflus. Remember there was talk that maybe Lincoln Riley would join him in Chicago? But, the Bears haven't lived up to what I thought they were going to be. They have disappointed. And it's kind of exacerbated by the fact that you got Jaden Daniels in Washington, and they're playing really, really well.